All right, hello. This is a sort of demo video just showcasing the functions and the full workability of this Prophet Rev 2. My name is Ivan. I'm the owner of this synth. I've had it for quite a few years now, and I'm ready to move on from it. So I'm actually just going to start with just showing the boot up routine. As you can see, it flashes the 16 voice notification right there. I've got this particular pad patch going on right now. It's got some delay on it as well. You can see we're scooting through the different patches here. In the user banks, some of these have arpeggiation that will play just like that, so apologize for any sudden noises. We can also go ahead and start with a new sort of clean or initial patch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. We got just a oscillator 1 set to a sawtooth wave. You can see the filter closing properly there. We can then add some decay to an envelope that will control some part of the filter. I'm now going to change the oscillator mix, so we're going to bring in the second oscillator, and we'll have that come in at an octave higher. And we'll get rid of the filter stuff just so we can more clearly hear that triangle wave, which of course is quite quieter than the sawtooth, so it can be hard to hear sometimes. Also just showing that the master volume knob works, the rate time knob works here, the glide button, hold button, unison. You can do some hold, as you can see there, if we do unison. For a stacking of all of the voices. Usually it's up to 8 voices per timbre. And so yeah, speaking of timbres, we can of course have a second timbre or stack it with the first one. And I'm just going to change the volume so that we can really hear that both stack A and stack B, or timbre A, timbre B, or program A, program B are being stacked simultaneously. That's kind of that for that. So we'll just go back to having a single single patch for now, and we'll just go single oscillator as well. I'm going to look at the effects right now. So we've got the high pass filter. Distortion, ring modulator, reverb, flanger, and of course the mix parameter 1 and parameter 2 knobs all work great. We can add in the auxiliary envelope. We'll just have it control the noise amount. I will have that dial in some settings here. No decay, no release, no delay, no velocity sensitivity, but quite a bit of sustain and some attack. And you can see that noise kind of comes in there. And there you go. Almost like you can hear the waves rolling in. So we've got the auxiliary envelope, the effects tested. We have most of the low pass filter. I guess I can show some of the other amounts. So here's without any key tracking. And there's some, minor key tracking. And of course, you can really turn up the key tracking if you so choose. Then there's the audio modulation of the filter, which basically kind of like a frequency modulation or FM-like affectation of the filter, but it can be a bit subtle, not necessarily the most dramatic effect to add. And yeah, we've got our sustain and our release for the filter envelope should we choose to use it. And right now we're doing everything in 4-pole mode for our filter. And you can tell the difference for 2-pole mode, which is a less aggressive filter with no self-resonance. Finally, we can come to the amplifier section. Change the pan spread, so the voices are now kind of panned wide for a wide stereo effect, or very narrow for more of a mono sound. And then you can control, of course, the voltage-controlled amplifier, or the simulation of it in this case. The synth doesn't actually use any voltages. We've got the VCA velocity amount, the VCA delay, VCA attack, of course, high. We want those sort of rolling paths like that. Or we can turn the sustain down to nothing, put some decay in, maybe a little flux going there. Turn up the release and you get those nice trails. Trails of sound. And yeah, that's kind of it for the VCA. So I'm going to just, again, set all these to kind of 0. Or the default amounts. In the case of the envelope amount, you want that at 127 so you can hear what you're doing. I will go ahead and just show that the fine-tune knob works. It might be a bit hard to hear with only one oscillator, so we'll do it with 2. You hear that fine-tuning of the oscillators there. Sync also works. We also have shape modulation, which of course is just the manual changing of the wave shape. So if we go to oscillator 2 and we go to triangle, you kind of hear how the shape of the triangle changes. Normally it's a little bit more dramatic than that. I might need to run calibration on the synth, and I'll show how that looks like in a moment. Put it back to just oscillator 1. We'll also show pulse wave. Hear that kind of coming in, as well as the sub oscillator coming in at an octave lower. We've already tested the noise. So the one other part that we haven't really showcased yet are the LFOs. So I'm just going to set these all actually to the same destination of cutoff, just to show that they work and that they're timed correctly. And we're going to set the cutoff kind of low. We're going to start with the triangle shape here on LFO number 4. And we'll set the... So at a very high frequency, you can tell how it kind of... It's almost like adding another oscillator at a fixed frequency. You can hear that beautiful sweep. And we're going to do a similar thing for oscillator 3. Set to we can also, of course, show the other LFO shapes, so sawtooth, reverse sawtooth, the square, and random. It's really cool for making those sort of arpeggiated kind of textural pads like that. So you can tell this button works just fine. All the LEDs work here. You can also clock sync to obviously, variation of the tempo. And yeah, tempo is right over here, so you can see the tempo knob works just fine. The synth knows how to calculate everything. Also change the divisions of how the clock itself works. We can also tap 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I was tapping at 94 there, for example, 94 beats per minute. And we're just going to turn this LFO off. We're going to go down to LFO 2. Again, it always starts out at a high frequency by default, and then you change it to whatever value you want. And then LFO 1. And there we go. We haven't used the pitch wheel yet. There we go. If we go into the mod matrix, we can then also showcase the modulation wheel and also set it to cutoff, just as an example. And you can see that that works just fine. We also want to test the pressure or the aftertouch of the FATAR keyboard or keybed that this synthesizer uses. So yeah, we set pressure. Might be a bit hard to see, but yeah, when you put a lot of that extra force on a key that's already depressed, it'll trigger the aftertouch. And yeah, so if we go to the global settings, we of course can calibrate the wheels. We've got all these like other settings. I'm just kind of showing the menu here that this all works just fine. Now, this will not show up on camera, but there's actually a little voice sort of counter at the bottom that advances one by one after each individual oscillator is used. And they're from 0 to 15. And those work just great. We're also on version 1.1.5.9 of the OS, which I believe is the most current version for this synthesizer. Now we're going to do the calibration. So this is gonna, make sure that now that the synth has been kind of turned on for a while, the temperatures kind of settle down, that the oscillators and the filters respond in the most sort of faithful and accurate way as the synth was designed to do. So when we press right, we might hear some beeps and bloops in the audio recording, and it'll kind of go through the calibration routine. And that's pretty much it. So I'm pretty sure I've gone through kind of everything here. I didn't showcase the sequencer, but the sequencer does work, as well as the arpeggiator. I just tend not to use these features all that much, so they didn't really come up for me in this particular demo. Yeah, so the calibration routine, sometimes it kind of takes a while. It might get a little bit stuck. Occasionally you have to reset the synthesizer and then run the calibration again, which I might have to do in this case, but I will pause the video here, and that kind of concludes the demo.